as well as Mike and Alex from KPMG, and Maury, Jason, and Linda here also in the council chambers. So we'll start with disclosure of pecuniary interests. Hearing none, I'll move to the approval of the agenda. Moved by Robert that the agenda for June 9th be approved. All in favor, if I can just hear an aye.
Aye. Aye.
Carried, thank you. Above motion to move in camera, moved by Mitch. Resolve that the committee proceeding camera at 6:31 in order to address the following matters pertaining to legal issue. One item, the security of property of the municipality or local board, KPMG audit findings, the consolidated financial statements, and the trust fund's financial statements. All in favor, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
That's carried.
Aye.
So we'll take 1 minute and we're going to move to the back room for the in-camera session.
That's
Hey, Eric,
We're all ready to go?
we're all ready to
Everybody's
go.
on?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you for that session. We're going to move by Mitch, resolve that we return to open session at 6:55. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, it's carried.
Aye.
Thank you. We're now back into our corporate meeting. Item 5, we have a presentation from KPMG. Mike, you said you're going to do the introductory remarks and then Alex will go in after?
Eric.
Or Eric, sorry.
Eric, yeah.
Okay.
Yes,
Go
thank you,
ahead.
Mr. Mayor. Just some opening comments as auditors. We're presenting the financial statements for the Corporation of Municipality of Wawa for the year ended December 31st, 2019. We've issued our auditor's report on those set of financial statements. These are draft statements until council approves them. Our auditor's report is an unqualified auditor's report, which is a clean opinion for the municipality. There's no items of concern with regards to the financial statements that we need to bring to anybody's attention. Our plan is to give you a high-level review of the financial statements as set, and I'll ask Eric Pino, who's the manager on the engagement and familiar to you and doing all the work. I'll let him carry on, as he's the closest one really to all the numbers besides your staff. Go ahead, Eric.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you, Council, for inviting us. What I'm going to do is share my screen here, and we can walk through the financial statements. Is everyone able to see my screen there? Yes,
Yes.
perfect.
Yep.
Fantastic. So like Mike said, I've been working on the engagement for a number of years now, familiar with the team at the municipality and familiar with the staff there, and happy to share the results of the 2019 year. On going through the financial statements again, we highlight our independent auditor's report. And we have issued a clean opinion. This is the highest level of assurance that we are able to provide. And what that means is there are no qualifications to our audit opinion. Nothing has come to our attention that we believe the financial statements to be misleading. As we carry on, we get to the statement of financial position. Again, you'll see there's an increase in financial assets for the year. That's driven primarily through an increase in cash from operations, as well as some increases in receivables related to some funding projects or some capital projects for the year. Liabilities staying relatively consistent year over year. Again, a slight increase in deferred revenue related to your increase in your assets. Again, that is just for cash that the municipality has received, and they're just waiting to start the work. And our understanding is that's commenced in 2020, bringing us down to a net financial asset position. Capital assets increasing due to some capital projects, which we'll highlight later on, going down to our accumulated surplus, which has grown from the past year. As we carry on to the statement of operations and accumulated surplus, again, the total revenue slight increase driven by the slight increase in the tax levy, as well as some additional grants that the municipality has been able to leverage and receive. And while maintaining expenses at relatively consistent levels, I believe the change from 18 to 19 is just over 1.5%. So very consistent with the budgeted amount and in line with the revenue balances. That ultimately results into a surplus of an accounting surplus, I'll caution, of $2.1 million. But of that $2.1 million, the municipality has gone out and acquired capital assets of $2.8 million. So that surplus was put to good use during the year to fund some pretty significant capital expenditures for the year. that then rolls down into the net assets of the municipality, which is the 690,000, consistent with what was on the statement of financial position. Very quickly, I'll just go through the cash flow statement. There's over $5 million generated from operations. And again, with that $5 million that the municipality generated, they contribute or use those funds to purchase and acquire capital assets over $2.8 million worth, as well as move forward and pay down some of the long-term debt that was outstanding during the year and at year end. The notes to the financial statements are very consistent with what they've been in the past. The only items that I will highlight to you is there is a new note for the year just disclosing the impact of COVID-19 subsequent to year end and some of the results and impacts that has had onto the municipality up to today's date. So with that, I'm happy to go into more detail if there are any questions. And if not, I'm happy to turn our direct attention to the trust statements.
Are there any questions for Eric now in this portion? Hearing none, we'll go ahead with the trust portion, Eric.
Fantastic. So again, I will highlight the trust statements. Again, we've issued an unqualified opinion, which again, I will remind council is the highest level of assurance that we are able to provide. And the trust funds primarily represent the funds collected for the cemetery. That's primarily what's left in the trust at the end of 2019. And again, over $160,000 worth of investments held in the trust. As we go down to the statement of fund balances, the only piece I'll highlight is the change in disbursements from the prior year. This $59,000 was in relation to the flood fund. If you recall, that was settled in 2018, and in 2019 there was simply the cash received on the sale of plots, as well as some interest and revenue that was earned. Again, the notes to the financial statements are consistent with what they've been in the past. And again, I don't want to go into too much detail, but again, happy to answer any questions if there are any from that of council.
Are there any questions? Okay, go ahead. You want to wrap up, Eric?
Perfect. No, the only piece I want to conclude with is just thank council again for inviting us here to present the financial statements to council, as well as the municipality of Wawa. It's always been a pleasure to serve the municipality, and we're happy for the invitation and the opportunity to present the financial statements.
Well, thank you, Eric and Mike. We certainly appreciate the work that you and your company performs for the municipality. We were pleased to have you here as the last stop before COVID-19 came along. Hopefully next year we might be your first stop, and we'll all be vaccinated and safe. So,
I hope so.
Looking forward to that. So again, if there are no further questions, I want to thank both of you for your presentation this evening, and wish you the best and stay well.
Same to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay, good
Thanks.
evening.
Good evening. So just moving right along, we have the adoption of the minutes from our Tuesday, May 12th meeting. That's moved by Pat. If you'd like to read the resolution. Or Joe, verbal, okay. Moved by Pat, we adopt the minutes from Tuesday, May 12th. All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Aye. It's carried.
Aye.
Thank you. There's nothing in business arising. So under new business 8.1, we've got Corey report for the month of May 2020. If you'd like to comment, Corey, and then we can take questions.
Yeah, sure. So to finish the month of May, we continued with our maintenance throughout the municipality, which consisted of sweeping roadways and sidewalks, boulevards, also grading roadways and preparation for the magnesium chloride, which we did put down on several roads, and calcium chloride truck to be in next week. We continued brushing on Steep Hill Road. Our water sewer staff continued flushing mains and sampling requirements, as well as preparation for monitoring THMs and when to start coagulating, which we have yet to do. Potentially into June, early July, we'll start. The current prairie recycling into June 2020, or rolling June 2020. So I've completed a document and entered into a new agreement, which you'll have a chance to review the agreement for accepting. For call to recycle, we're taking over recycling of batteries, which will allow us to get claims on our hazardous waste day for the amount of batteries that we keep bringing through that. Buildings, we had some maintenance to our HVAC systems, and the library had a leak on the humidifier. We did some repairs to the humidifier, and we have a contractor currently in there patching up and painting. Capital projects, as you're aware, Connecting Link has started and took off pretty quick. We're moving along very good according to schedule, and I expect some bumps along the way, but nothing that we'll be able to handle. We've been working with the Provo and Crescent to ensure that pedestrian and vehicle traffic and flow remains with little delays, and as they're moving along, we'll continue to move forward as well. They're coming up to a 4-day off period, which will start this Thursday. Will be their last day. They'll be off before, but they will maintain the signage, the laneways, and grading of the gravel road if they have to due to rain. I'm told that they're hoping to start a second crew soon, which would overlap those extra days off. So we're working a schedule of 10 on, 4 off. The additional crew would start when they're coming to their off days, and that way it'll just be continuation. With that support, I'll talk more about the school zone project. Avgas airport tank project is RFP closes soon, and we'll be reviewing and hope to award that contract in July. I just finished an RFP for water valve replacement in the hydrant installation, which will be going out Monday with a 3-week turnaround to close. And there's some minor projects in 2019 that we're finishing up, such as Pinewood Drive shoulders, pavement for the curb stop installation that needs to be done. And there's a couple entrances on Toronto Ave finished completing. And that's all scheduled to be done throughout June and early July. So just a couple notes on forecast and schedule. In addition to completing dust control and line painting and marking, we'll be looking to go into the school zone engineering phases and planning for that project. Hauling granular to roadways, replacing culverts where required. Also, with the asphalt removed from the Connecting Link project, I'm hoping to have it pulverized by the contractor and use the grindings to repair some roadways. Some noted to mention would be the stretch from Pinewood Drive to the cemetery, perhaps on Middle Drive, and perhaps sections on Tamarack. Any questions?
I got one question, Corey.
Go ahead,
On
Bill.
the THMs, would the misbegotten village be more at risk than Wawa would be?
Yeah, that's correct. We have to sample THMs from the end of the distribution system because that's their highest. And that is from the water tower, and that is where they reach their highest.
Okay. Thank you for that, Corey.
Yeah.
Corey, you made reference to fire hydrant being installed, part of the project. Is that going to take care of the area that lacks coverage right now along Mission Road?
Yep, that is correct. It will be installed in that location to ensure coverage in that area.
Very good.
It's Pat. I got a couple questions.
Go ahead, Pat.
Yep.
First of all, I'd like to thank all the directors for these reports. They're very detailed and let us understand what's going on in the community. So it's, I'd just like to thank you for all this work you put in these reports. Second question is, you kind of answered it anyways. You said you were hauling granular materials for roadways, but then I heard you say you're going to grind up that pavement and use that from OPP to the graveyard, and that would solve that problem of the mud, right?
Yeah, that is correct. There'll be a lot of work to be done involved in that yet, but my goal is to hopefully use our staff capacity and complete that throughout summer, fall.
Okay, good, thanks.
Very good. If there are no further questions, Corey, if you'd like to go on to your second report regarding the consultant services for the school zone resurface project.
Yep. So the school zone resurface project, as you're aware, is through the ICIP application that we completed, which is Investing in Canada Infrastructure Program. There was an intake for Rural and Northern Communities Fund, which we applied to do several streets located in the school zone. The key focus of this project is kind of similar to Connecting Link, which is been prioritized against pedestrian vehicle flow and safety. Some key components of this application were, of course, to not only resurface the asphalt roadway, including curb and gutter, but to address the sidewalk conditions, crosswalks, ramps, perhaps signaled crosswalks or more signs involved in the school zone, including speed limits, no parking areas, and all that will be reviewed throughout this project by the engineers. In addition, there's also lots of discussion of a loading and unloading zone as well, perhaps between certain times during the school year, so that will also take place now. Similar with Connecting Link, throughout the planning phases and engineering phases, there'll be opportunities for council and ratepayers to comment and take part in the process through regarding what we come forward with and what the plan is. So for that project, which would include Mayfly from Mission to Churchill from Mission to Hillcrest, Spruce Street, Boyer, Arnott, Ross, Park Hill, and Grace, all being redone. We went out for engineering services through an RFP process, which we closed, and the three management staff reviewed and graded, and as I have done in the past, the same method, which was through the review, we looked at the engineering experience, their references and resumes to the staff to the project, the quality of the approach, the timelines and methodologies, their activities, and of course budget. So through this review, we went through these 4 engineering firms which were accepted and met all the requirements, and averaged the scores throughout to determine who between the 3 management staff would be the highest score. And through that, Pollock Engineering was tied for first in experience and qualifications, second in timeline, and second in budget, but then first in proposed methods and quality. So they received the highest overall grade out of the 4 valid proposals submitted. Now, throughout the project, of course, you won't know the final completion date until you tender an award for construction to begin. It is looking like we could potentially finish this project, start in 2021 construction and finish in 2022 with an option of the warranty being 2023. But I'm not going to get too much into that because that will depend on the tender process. Now, this project is $4.5 million excluding HST, with the total funding dollars towards the entire project. My recommendation based through the awarding, a review and awarding Pollock Engineering, the engineering service and consulting for the school zone project to begin immediately and start designing and planning and preparing to tender out in hopefully March of 2020 and award the construction for spring of 2020. Any questions?
Spring of 2020 or 2021?
Sorry, spring of 2021, complete the design in 2020,
Okay,
and then construction will be 2021. And just to note, the bid proposal from Tulloch was $245,000. I do expect, as always, if there's some changes due to the scope of work, such as doing geotechnical work, maybe additional script or another service required, that cost could go up. But we did estimate a total budget of approximately $450,000. So we are quite below what the application proposal was.
that's excellent. Are there any questions for Corey?
I got one question.
Go ahead, Pat.
I'm just trying to understand the funding and how that works. Like, when we're going to get money for Tulloch now to get started, where does that money come from?
So this specific application is two components to it. There's the federal and there's the provincial government. Both had to approve the project for it to move forward for final approval to receive funding. So we will receive an agreement shortly, hoping within the next week, which will have us enter into agreement through this program and funding program. And essentially, they release up front, they release X amount of financial dollars, and then throughout the process, more is released until it is complete. I do, like any claims or any financial reports, regularly throughout the project, I'm doing reports and claims and updates and tracking these. So as time moves on, but I mean, some of them, for example, we get the cost upfront right away, 90% of it, say, and then others would be in portions. I have yet to see the final agreement from them to comment farther on that, but any cost incurred since April 2020 is eligible to claim for this. So we're advised to move forward with awarding the engineering consulting services, and all those costs will be covered through this program.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just one comment, if I may, Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead, Bill.
Corey, with items 8.1, 8.2, there's a lot of construction going on in this town, which is welcome. And as we all know, can make our town look better. Also, as chairman of the cemetery committee, we welcome the new paving and helping us to beautify our cemetery. I want to thank you for that, sir.
Thank you very much, Bill. I appreciate that.
Thank you, Bill, for that comment. Just a note, I believe Tulloch Engineering will be involved in the construction of the ATSAB seniors building. So there'll be a lot of presence in town with a couple of projects. So that's certainly welcome. So thank you. We're going to move to item 8.3, the Marina agreement. Oh, sorry, Corey, thank you for your two presentations. And then Alex, if you want to go ahead with your report on the Marina, please.
Sure, thank you. Can everybody hear me okay?
You're just fine.
Good. Okay, so I have a report here regarding the status of the marina. That's specifically from an upcoming agreement through Small Craft Harbors to renew the lease on the marina. So for council's information, every 5 years we need to renew our lease with Small Craft Harbors on the marina facility. That portion specifically covers what's in the marina basin. So essentially the docks and a very small portion of the wharf. In this, we also have to have an agreement with anybody who is helping us operate the marina. So in this specific case, the Bucks Marina, which I'll refer to as the operator Because of that, there's essentially two contracts in this report. The first one, which is with Bucks Marina, and that's something we have to sign on to. The second one, which is with Small Craft Harbors. So I'm going to start with Bucks Marina first, and then we'll move on to Small Craft Harbors. So in 2018, we started writing a contract between Bucks Marina and the municipality because this was something that was specifically an issue that was advised to us through the divestiture process. And that's something where we had stalled the divestiture process on two previous occasions because we were lacking this agreement with the operator. So therefore, we started working on an agreement because we were also in talks at that time with Small Craft Harbors to divest the marina to the municipality. We have completed a contract with Bucks Marina just in time for us re-signing the second agreement with Small Craft Harbors. And what that's going to incorporate is some operational changes. So that's the first item to bring forward to council tonight. Those operational changes essentially see the municipality taking over a lot more of the service of the marina. So for example, where before, because there was an unwritten contract, we did some things, the operator did some things, there wasn't very clear lines. This contract sets out some very clear lines. And essentially the only thing that we're looking for from the operator is specifically the ability essentially for folks to go in and pay at the marina. So this specifically affects transient boaters a lot, especially because, of course, when you come in, it's not like they can come to the arena or come to town hall or anything like that. So it's important to have someone there at the marina to be able to take those payments. However, we've also had a significant demand from the community for the municipality to be taking payments as well. So therefore, what we've done is we've developed a system where both the operator and the municipality can take payments for the marina, and then the municipality is going to take over a lot more of the operations of the facility with the intention of also keeping more revenue for the municipality as well. So that is kind of the high-level overview of this particular contract. The contract itself is included for council's information. It was developed actually from the agreement that we have with the golf course. So there's some things in there about insurance and indemnity and all those basic things that you would have in a contract, but the gist of it is really in the administration and operations section, which lays out the responsibilities for each party. So with that contract completed, and I'll note it isn't signed yet, but it's completed, and we've received essentially agreement from the operator on it. We move on to a couple other issues at the marina, and so I've identified them in here as well, with the understanding that if council is to sign on to this agreement with Small Craft Harbors, we also need to action these specific items. So of course, the first issue is the provision of washroom facilities. Now, obviously, that's something that's part of the municipal property and an issue with the building there. Staff have arranged a portable washroom facility to go down there. Essentially, we're holding off for a little while just because the cleaning restrictions and the recommendations from Algoma Public Health are so stringent right now that we don't feel like we can meet them, which is why a lot of the other washrooms in the community are closed as well. But once those are relaxed, or if anything in the situation changes that we can meet them, then that's going to go down there relatively shortly. The next operational issue we identified is the electrical connections. So during the flood, the municipality had to shut off the power there, and unfortunately that dropped power to the whole site, both the municipality and the operator. So those two connections are one and the same, and that needs to be separated. So staff are planning on completing the work in 2020 to make sure that there's no disruption in operations. So it'll probably be later in the season in 2020 to ensure that we don't happen in the middle of the boating season. That in particular is also dependent on ensuring that we know exactly where the property lines are, which is something we're waiting for from the local MNRF. The next operational issue that we have at the marina is the dredging of the entry channel. Now, this is something that only affects a smaller percentage of boaters, but it's an issue that comes up relatively often. Right now, we're working with those boaters, and we're actually working with a couple other folks, such as Brookfield as well, to try and make sure that if that work can get done, it can get done using essentially no municipal money or as little municipal money as possible. So we're still working on that issue. And of course, that's an issue that it gets worse and worse every year. So sometime, if we don't resolve it this year, sometime in the future, we are going to have to look at, because because it'll start affecting a higher and higher percentage of the boaters who use the facility. At that facility, there's also a host of hazards, and some of them we've mitigated already this year, such as boards broken on the boardwalk and making sure that the wharf is really blocked off properly. But there's some additional hazards that still need to be mitigated, and a lot of those are on municipal property anyway, so it's not something that changes whether we sign on with Small Craft Harbors or not. So in this report, we're making the recommendation to continue on with the agreement with Small Craft Harbors and to sign on for another 5 years, specifically because the municipality is in the process of pursuing the divestiture of the marina. So signing on to this agreement is with the direction of ensuring that we can get a proposal to Small Craft Harbors and to get some funds from them for the divestiture of the marina that we can then leverage with FedNor and the NOHFC and other potential funders to ensure that we can deal with a lot of the longer term asset related issues at the marina itself. So that's the gist of it. If anybody has any questions, I'm open to it.
Alex, when you talk about funding from the federal government for this project, I remember $1 million being thrown around a few years ago. Are you hearing any numbers from them?
Yeah, so that $1 million figure was a reference to Nipigon's Marina in particular, because they followed a similar process several years ago. They're a similar sized marina and they got that amount of money. So essentially how the divestiture process works is we had two options. The first option was Small Craft Harbors comes up, they do an assessment and they basically approach the municipality and say, yeah, we'll give you X amount of money based on what we feel that the place is worth. The second portion, which is what we've gone for, the second option, I should say, is doing the divestiture where you get a proposal to Small Craft Harbor saying, this is what we want to do, these are the costs involved, and this is what we'd like you to pay. And that portion works very similarly to a funding application where it's essentially a grant process. So they'll give you the funds, and actually, normally you can't do this, but FedNor had confirmed that those funds, even though they're federal funds, they don't count as double dipping. So we could use those funds as committed by Small Craft Harbors to go after both FedNor and the NOHFC for a larger project to also improve some of the issues that are on the municipality's property, which Small Craft Harbor won't pay for. So the biggest example of that would be the wharf.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions for Alex?
Just one question for Alex. On the contract between you and the operator, can I get to look at that, or is that have to be done at the township? Yeah, so that is actually included in this report as one of the appendixes. It's the draft version of that contract. And so that contract has to be both accepted by the municipality and then as well accepted by Small Craft Harbors to make sure that everybody's above board. Thank you for that, Alex.
When do you expect to get that contract signed?
Hopefully as soon as possible. It's to go to council today, of course, and then if council accepts this direction, then I essentially bring it down to the operator and say, are you in or are you out?
Okay, thank you.
I got a question, it's Pat.
Go ahead, Pat.
Like I was just looking, reading this report there, I got 3 pages of notes, but I'm not gonna go through them. But this is a big one, like this is a real big one. And everything depends on, like, I heard good things where you're talking about, Alex, about funding. And we gotta make sure we include all the stakeholders when we get to that stage. But really right now, the only stage we're looking at is securing the lease on the marina at this point, right?
Absolutely, yeah. So essentially, and you put the nail on the head there, the larger project is a separate piece of this. And so for me, if council would sign on to another 5-year term with Small Craft Harbors, it is with the intent to divest. However, that all has to be part of essentially like our normal capital processes, right? We have to develop a proposal. We need to get community consultation for that proposal. And then, and only then, once we've gone through all those stages, can we put that proposal to Small Craft Harbors as essentially a funding application, right? So this is essentially council confirming that we would like to go down that road, but the specifics of things are all going to be up to council in the future to approve as specifics.
Okay, good. I like that.
Thanks, Pat. We had a question from Mitch.
Alex, what are you doing with the building out there where the washrooms were?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So it's my intention to do essentially very little to that facility. And the reason being is that anything we would do to that facility is still at high risk of being flooded. So even if we were to put several $1,000s into it to make some repairs or do whatever it may be, in 2 or 3 years down the road, that may all be wiped out. A lot of people have suggested that that building be torn down. And specifically, one of the reasons I'd like to keep that building up is as a way to leverage that facility in particular as something against funding, right? So for example, I'll use Rose's Beach House. We were able to take the funders down there when we went for waterfront funding, says here, okay, here's the issues, here's what we're planning to do with it. And we were able to get funded both the removal of that facility as well as the installation of a new similar one, which was more suited for the specific uses down there. So that's essentially the same model that I'm recommending here.
So we do have bathrooms out there, right?
Not at this specific instant, no, but they are planned to be there soon as either cleaning restrictions relax a little bit or it gets to a critical point where we're forced to actually have washrooms there. It's very similar to the rest of the parks right now.
Thanks, Alex.
Any further questions? Well, thank you, Alex, for that report, and then we'll ask you to go ahead and do your report for the month of May.
Sure. So a pretty quick one. On the capital project side, we had worked quite a lot with the signage specifically of the Wawa Waterfront project, as well as contacting all of the contractors who need to finish up work in the various portions of the project that need to be finished. We have been successful contacting all of the contractors and getting work plans together. I'm working on the last one right now, actually, and so I'll be able to publish a schedule fairly shortly for the community as to what work is happening when specifically. The signage has actually passed one of the reviews from Michipicoten First Nation that I was waiting for, so it is entering production shortly. And then we're going to have a second round specific to the wayfinding signage to ensure that all of the funders as well as the municipality approves before we send it to production as well. So essentially it is in the tying up loose ends phase of the project. We also had some questions specifically related to COVID-19 regarding playground closures and parkland reopenings and things like that. We continue to work with Algoma Public Health to ensure that we're following all of the recommendations. I would like to say in a public forum today that parks are still closed, even in phase 2 in terms of the playgrounds. And that was something that there was a little bit of confusion about right after the announcement of yesterday. So just to confirm that playgrounds do remain closed and essentially any high touch surfaces in any recreation areas do remain closed as well. I'd also like to note on a positive note that RD Yard Care has approached us and they've offered to donate, plant, and care for a number of trees in Queen's Park, which is something that we've been trying to do for a couple years. So that's something that I'm looking forward to getting some diversity in there. Other than that, for June, we've got a couple plans. We're going to be installing the docks at Lions Beach. We're going to finish up, start installing the swing set at Queen's Park. And the infrastructure department is going to help us out by removing some stumps and providing some sand for underneath the play structure there, as well as recoat some of the waterfront log benches. And probably some of you guys have noticed there's some green tarps over a couple of them because we've already started that. At the community center, I'm happy to report that the painters were here on Monday and they've started already. We also have some major work to do on the compressor system, including the major overhaul, which is due this year. And then we have completed some sidewalk repairs out front as well as the brick starts to decay.
Thanks, Alex. A couple questions for you. Did you have to get permission to get the painters in to work in the facility? And how many are there working?
Are you talking permission like permission relative to the COVID-19 guidelines?
Yeah, it's just closed for recreational purposes. General maintenance is still permitted.
Yes, exactly. So that sort of thing is considered that essential maintenance on these facilities. So that's still allowed to go ahead. Very similar to like the refrigeration contractors coming in to work on the compressors. All of that's considered essential maintenance.
Okay. And how many are there? Painting?
There are 4.
Okay. And did they give you an idea of a timeline?
They're still working it out right now, but likely a couple weeks into next month.
Okay. Thank you.
Alex, are you putting out any more benches?
Benches along the waterfront or benches anywhere else? Where are you speaking specifically?
In town?
We've got a couple backed benches that are supposed to go out in front of a couple locations, such as the post office and such as the drugstore. So those will be going out shortly.
And is there anybody doing any flowers, Alex?
No, we have no plans for flowers this year.
Thank you. Any further questions for Alex?
Alex, I got a question for you.
Sure.
It's thorn in my side, these tarps on these benches in Wall Lake. I mean, this Friday will be 2 weeks they've been there. When are they going to be removed? Four of them have tarps, one doesn't.
Yeah, as soon as we get the actual coating in. So there was a special coating that we had to order, and it was supposed to come in a week and a half ago. So we started the sanding, we put tarps on them, expecting to be able to coat them quite shortly, and then we still haven't gotten it.
Yeah, because Wall Lake is 26 degrees today, and I counted almost 25 people down there.
Yeah, I hear you. I'd like to get them off as well.
Okay.
So as soon as we get the coating in, we'll be right on her.
Thank you. We'll move to, thanks for both those reports, Alex. We'll move to item 8.5. Jason, your report for March to May?
Other than regular duties such as backup monitoring, software updates, just regular administrative duties. Over the last couple of months, we've dealt again with another ransomware attack, not directly with us, but with one of our cooperative members. So that is definitely still a very real threat to all communities or all municipalities. So we've been working on increasing security and keeping an eye on different actions throughout the municipality. So that took up quite a bit of time in the beginning of the year, and with the COVID-19 didn't make it any easier to deal with, but we made our way through that. The ITI department right now too, we're putting all the information together for our annual energy reporting. It's a reporting that needs to be done each year to the Ministry of Energy on our energy consumptions within the municipal buildings. So that is usually due July the 1st. There has been an extension, but we're going to still aim to have that completed by July 1st, so we can get that out of the way. We spent a lot of time, as you know, many of the staff are working from home, so we spent a lot of time getting people set up to work remotely, and we continue on a daily basis to support the staff and make sure that they're able to access everything that they need to continue doing their jobs. As far as the solar panels are producing again, but after inspections of the solar panels, it has come to our attention that some of the microinverters on some of the solar installations are not working. So we're in the process of trying to find and get a contractor up here to do the necessary repairs on those solar arrays so we can get full production out of them. Hopefully that will happen in the near future. We're just having a hard time trying to source somebody out to actually come up and do the repairs that is qualified to do so. As far as our cooperative is concerned, we've been doing, well, we have a few projects that are on the go and coming up. Two of the communities, we're working with them to complete their official plan and zoning bylaws. And we're doing two major system upgrades, one in Hornepayne and one for the Wawa Family Health Team. And that will be going on in the next couple of months.
Okay. Any questions for Jason? Thank you. It's certainly a different times, and your workload has changed because of COVID-19. So we'll move to item 8.6. Kevin, with regards to the breathing air compressor system for the fire department. Go ahead, Kev, if you have any comments.
Basically, this was an approved capital project for 2020. We're looking for a brand new breathing air compressor system for the fire department. The current one we have now needs to be certified semi-annually, and currently parts and items required for it to be certified are getting harder to get. The system is some 19 years old now and was wearing out. So we asked for a tender. We had two bidders submit. A committee for two firefighters and myself analyzed the submissions, and we're suggesting that SPI be the successful bidder at an amount of $50,000, $367.49. I'm hoping that council will approve this and we can move forward with purchasing it.
I understand we already approved 70,000 and your price came in 20,000 less than the approved amount. I certainly feel that it's extremely important that our volunteers have the best equipment possible. So I certainly support this. Any comments from the other councillors? Seeing none, this will be coming forward in the regular meeting in just a little while. Thanks, Kevin.
Thank you.
Item 8.7, there's a memo there from the Wawa BIA. I'm a member of that board, and basically because of COVID-19 and the cancellation of certain events like our July 1st celebrations, the music festival, the drag races, we're not putting flowers up. There was no need for a large BIA budget, so the board decided to cut back as much as possible. It's going to be a very quiet year because of COVID-19, and those savings, there won't be a major request for the levy from the businesses that participate. So an opportunity for the businesses to get a bit of a break in these COVID-19 times. So that's basically it. It's a very reduced budget and not a lot happening because of what's happening with the pandemic. I don't know if anybody had any questions. All right.
It's Manuela on the line. I just wanted to add to that even though we were able to successfully reduce the levy, we're still able to do $5,000 in capital for the banners for Christmas and the shop local, and to encourage the shop local.
That's right. Thank you very much, Manuela, for that.
You're welcome.
And thank you to yourself and the rest of the board members for the work.
Oh, it was a pleasure. Thank you.
Good. Item 8.8, the Legion request for permission to install a flagpole. Kevin, were you going to comment on this request or give some background in terms of, or Maury will? Okay, Maury, if you'd like to go ahead then.
Thank you. On behalf of the president of the Royal Canadian Legion Wawa branch, staff have reviewed the request for them to erect a Canadian flagpole with the Canadian flag flying. due to the structure, the only option they have is to request that the municipality provide them permission to install a flagpole 24 inches out from the building on the south corner, which is the corner that has the entrance driveway to the new accessible ramp. So at that corner location, it would be 2 feet out from that corner and in the municipal sidewalk. So this has been reviewed by engineers, Mike Moore and Son, has been reviewed with the electricians from the power company to make sure that the flagpole doesn't interfere with electricity. And our staff have reviewed it. So tonight on the regular council meeting, a motion will be put forward for your vote where staff have reviewed the request, support that flagpole be erected at that site, provided that the Legion has to understand that during winter snow removal maintenance on the sidewalks, it would have to be responsible for the area around the flagpole because our equipment can't get close. That they would agree to remove the flagpole should the municipality ever deem it to be a hazard or for some reason we redoing the sidewalk. So they would sign an agreement with us to agree to remove the structure at any time. That we as staff have reviewed it and would support the Legion's request to council to ask for this flag. There are no other options as they looked at the building.
So when the engineers looked at that, was there any request for anything related to safety, like reflective decals on it, or it's just going to be the straight pole right there, nothing surrounding it?
Not that I've been made
Okay.
aware of, but I can certainly inquire. The 2 feet is required because of sway, so for the safety aspects with the flagpole sway. But I will, I'll double check on that, Mayor. It's a good point, and make sure that if we have to illuminate it or mark it as a hazard, we will do so.
Okay. Somebody will walk into it.
Coming out of the Legion downstairs.
Okay, we'll hope not, but we'll make sure.
I'll make note of that
Yeah.
safety.
Okay, any questions?
One to Maury. Maury, what happened to the flagpole that was on the roof? They changed their mind for putting it up there?
Well, unfortunately, Councillor Shea, so due to our aging population, the aging membership of the Legion, right now, the only way to get to the roof at the Legion is to go through a very small, narrow set of stairs that lead into the attic. And then they have to try to get from the attic to the roof, which as the Legion members age is actually a very difficult task for them. Then the pole itself is not in the best of condition. So respecting that as we age, it's a little more difficult to get up on the roof. They've asked for this consideration. So I hope that answers your question.
It does, thank you.
You're not volunteering
Maury.
to put up the flag, are
Sorry,
you? Sorry, go ahead, Pat.
2 feet from the building out in the middle of that sidewalk is kind of dangerous, isn't it?
Well, it can be. So we're going to double check with the engineer and the installer that if there are any safety barricades or bollards or some kind of material, I'll work with the engineer and review it with Kevin to make sure that we mark it as best we can. But certainly as any receptacle or bench or anything on the sidewalk, they all present a certain aspect of risk. But we're hoping that this risk is small enough that it's worth it for the flying of the Canadian flag for the Legion, because they cannot put this flag anywhere else. To put it on the boulevard impacts their accessibility to the new accessibility ramp. So they're
Maybe make it out of a Nerf pole.
There you go. You know,
Maury, may I add something here?
okay, go ahead.
Okay, so the 24 inches is the maximum area that they require that the flagpole be put in the center of that square. It's not to be put 24 inches from the building.
okay.
That makes a difference.
Okay,
Thank you for that clarification.
yeah. In the past, haven't we also had allowed restaurants put up a small table and chairs summertime? Some of the businesses, you think of, they bring up bicycles and other things right on the streets. So it's not something new. Sorry, not streets, sidewalks. We often have businesses take advantage and utilize 2 to 3 feet in front of their business to display some of the items they sell. So I'm sure we'll make sure that it's safe and it will meet the needs of the local Legion. So thank you for that. Item 8.9, request for reduced water and sewer fees. We had that discussion previously. With any further comments?
This is
That's another one
different.
across the
Yes,
street?
across the
But
street.
basically the same idea in that the business can't shut the water off and wants the same request. I think if you note in the report, this will probably be one of the last times we consider these kinds of requests, because once we start using the metering system, we will no longer be entertaining these requests. We have in the past. We will this time, and this will come forward in a regular meeting. Are there any questions regarding that? Okay, thank you. There's nothing under business arising from the closed session. Our next meeting is Tuesday, July 20th. Moved by Bill that we.
July 14th.
Oh, sorry, July 14th. I saw too many 20s after that. July 14th, 2020. And moved by Bill, we adjourn at 7:51. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
That's carried.
Aye.
Thank you. So our corporate is closed. We will move now to the regular meeting. I'll call the regular meeting to order at 7:52. Any disclosure of pecuniary interests? Hearing none, we'll move to approval of the agenda.
I did have a small announcement, Mr.
That's coming down number 5.
Oh, thank you.
Should I say the moved by?
Yeah.
Moved by Bill Shaysall, seconded by Mitch Hatfield. Resolved that the agenda for the regular meeting of council scheduled for Tuesday, June 9th, 2020 be approved as presented.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 It's carried. Thank you. There's nothing under delegations or presentations, announcements and giving them notice. Mitch has an announcement.
I would like, Alex, I'd like you, the next time you see Dorothy Egan, thank her, because she did the entire beachfront walkway. She scrubbed it, she cleaned it, she weeded everything, and it's just nice as a volunteer to thank her.
Very good. And I'll make sure I do that too when I see her.
Yeah.
Great work. Thank you. There's a notice of a couple of meetings on July 14th. The adoption of minutes. We have a motion.
Moved by Mitch Hatfield, seconded by Bill Shaysall. Resolved that the following minutes of the meeting of council be adopted as presented. Minutes of a regular meeting of council held on Tuesday, May 12th, 2020, as contained on pages 1 to 5, inclusive of the minute book.
All in favor? Aye.
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 It's carried. Thank you. Consent agenda, a motion resolution to approve the consent agenda.
Moved by Robert Rees, seconded by Pat Tate. Resolved that the items listed under consent agenda, items 7.2 to 7.9, be approved as recommended.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 It's,
Aye.
thank you. It's carried. Number 8, staff reports, resolution to receive the staff reports.
Moved by Pat Tate, seconded by Robert Rees. Resolved that the council of the Corporation of the Municipality of Wawa does hereby receive the following reports, a copy of which are attached here too. AP 2020-06, RFP 2020-03, Recode Arena Trusses at MMCC. AP 2020-07, Marine Agreement and Operational Changes. AP 2020-08, Report for the month of May 2020. CS 2020-06, Report for the month of May 2020. CS 2020-07, Consultant Services, School Zone Resurface. JM 2020-03, Report for the month of May 2020. KS 2020-03, Breathing Air Compressor System.
Any further questions? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you. Staff reports are carried. Nothing under business arising. Under new business 10.1, resolution to accept the staff recommendation, the breathing air compressor systems for the fire department.
Moved by Mitch Hatfield, seconded by Bill Chason, whereas the municipality of Wawa issued an RFT 2020-02 for a breathing air compressor system for the fire department. Now therefore be it resolved that the council of the corporation municipality of Wawa does hereby accept staff recommendation as contained in report KS 2020-03 and award the tender received from SPI Health and Safety for the purchase of a breathing air compressor system at a cost of $50,367.49, including HST.
Any questions? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All in favor? Aye.
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 It is carried. Thank you. 10.2, accept staff recommendation, marine agreement and operational changes.
Moved by Councillor Reese, seconded by Councillor Chason, resolved that the council of the corporation and municipality does hereby accept the staff recommendation as contained in report AP 2020-07. Be it further resolved that council does hereby direct staff to enter into an agreement with Bucks Marina for the provision of sales related to the marina facility, and further that council also directs staff to enter into an agreement with the Department of Fisheries and Oceans Small Craft Harbors Branch for the management of the marina facility.
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
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 It's carried. Thank you. Item 10.3, accept staff recommendation, consultant services for the school zone resurface project.
Moved by Councillor Tate, seconded by Councillor Hatfield, whereas the Investing in Canada Infrastructure Program is a federal program designed to create long-term economic growth, build inclusive, sustainable, and resilient communities, and support a low-carbon economy. And whereas the Rural and Northern Communities Fund Stream supports projects that improve the quality of life in rural and northern communities by responding to rural and northern infrastructure priorities. And whereas the municipality of Wawa's road surface will be reconstructed in the school zone consisting of Magpie Road, Churchill Avenue, Boyer Street, Spruce Street, Arnott Avenue, Ross Street, Darwin Street, Park Hill Street, and Gray Street. And whereas a budget of $50,000 for school zone consulting services is required to be included in the 2020 capital to commence consulting immediately. And whereas based on a staff review, recommendation is Tulloch Engineering to provide engineering services for the school zone resurfacing project. Now therefore be it resolved that the council of the corporation of the municipality of Wawa does hereby support staff recommendation as contained in report CS 2020-07, accept Tulloch Engineering proposal to provide engineering services and project management throughout the duration of the school zone project for a total cost of $245,465, excluding HST.
All in favor? Sorry?
Oh, sorry.
We have one more
clause.
comment.
And further, that council of the corporation municipality of Wawa support staff in their recommendation to add $50,000 to 2020 capital budget to begin consulting services for the school zone project.
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That's carried. I see item 13 is new business continued. Do we want to go there now, or are we going to do bylaws and then go?
You're going to do bylaws first,
Okay.
because that.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
So nothing under notice of motion. Number 12, bylaws, first, second, and third reading.
Moved by Councillor Reese, seconded by Councillor Tate, resolved that the following bylaws be introduced and read a first, second, and third time and finally passed. and that the mayor and clerk do sign and seal the same, any rule of this council to the contrary notwithstanding. Bylaw number 3312-20 to confirm the proceedings of council at its meeting held on the 9th day of June 2020. Bylaw 3313-20 to establish a community sustainability and well-being reserve fund for the municipality of Wawa. Bylaw number 3314-20 to authorize the borrowing upon reserve funds in the amount of $1 million for the purposes of the corporation of the municipality of Wawa. Bylaw 3315-20 to authorize the corporation of the municipality of Wawa to enter an agreement with J. Provo Contracting for the supply of materials, labor, and equipment necessary for the Highway 101 connecting link improvements. Bylaw number 3316-20 to authorize the corporation of the municipality of Wawa to enter into a license agreement for the use of real property Nathan Provo. Bylaw number 3317-20 to enter into an agreement with Call to Recycle Canada Inc. for a used consumer type portable battery recycling agreement in accordance with the Ontario Regulation 3020 under the Resource Recovery and Circular Economy Act 2016. Bylaw 3318-20 to authorize the installation of pedestrian crossover facilities on Highway 101 connecting link in the municipality of Wawa.
Any questions? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. It's carried. So now that we've passed bylaw 12.3, we are going to go back to new business and item 13.1, approval of withdrawal of funds from the Community Sustainability and Wellbeing Reserve Fund for the Wawa Senior Housing Project.
Whereas moved by Councillor Reese and seconded by Councillor Tate, whereas the municipality of Wawa established the Community Sustainability and Wellbeing Reserve Fund for community sustainability and well-being through projects, programs, or services for youth or seniors, or projects or programs that support community sustainability, economic development, or energy efficiency through the passage of bylaw number 3314-20. And whereas the municipality of Wawa proposes to provide funds towards the Algoma District Services Administration Board's Wawa Seniors Housing Project, now therefore be resolved that the Council of the Corporation of the municipality of Wawa does hereby authorize the withdrawal of $200,000 from the Community Sustainability and Wellbeing Reserve Fund to be used by ADSAB for the Wawa Seniors Housing Project, which is consistent with the purpose of the reserve funds.
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you. That's carried. Item 13.2, approval of withdrawal of funds from the Community Sustainability and Wellbeing Reserve Fund, Wawa Senior Housing Project for building permit fees.
I need a mover and a seconder, please.
Okay, moved by Bill, seconded by Mitch.
Moved by Councillor Shay-So, seconded by Councillor Hatfield, whereas the municipality of Wawa established the Community Sustainability and Wellbeing Reserve Fund for community sustainability and well-being through projects, programs, or services for youth or seniors, or projects or programs that support community sustainability, economic development, or energy efficiency through the passage of bylaw number 3314-20. And whereas the municipality of Wawa proposes to provide assistance towards the Algoma District Services Administration Board's Wawa Senior Housing Project. Now therefore be resolved that the Council of the Corporation of the municipality of Wawa does hereby authorize the withdrawal of up to $28,601.25 from the Community Sustainability and Wellbeing Reserve Fund to be used for the Wawa Seniors Housing Project building permit fees, which is consistent with the purpose of that reserve fund.
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you.
Aye.
That's carried. Thank you very much. We do not have a closed session. Our next meeting is Tuesday, July 14th, 2020. I want to thank everyone for their participation tonight. There's lots of business. Everything went very well, so thank you. We will adjourn at 8:04, moved by Mitch.
Resolved that the meeting be adjourned at 8:04 p.m.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
That's carried. Thank you very much. Everyone have a good evening. Stay